That's nasty.
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder, saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. If what I say makes you mad, I can live with that. In fact, I'll probably laugh, so please share your rage for my amusement. Now, I'm normally pretty neutral when it comes to fan service in anime. There is so much of it that I've become numb to it all. Plus, they're just drawings. I'm actually married. I have a real wife by me every night, so that is a little bit more interesting than something that someone drew. Just saying. Plus, any sort of appeal would have been crushed long ago by the sheer abundance of it. Everything loses the spark if there's too much of it. Considering that I can't go into any anime or gaming website without fan service being shoved in my face, I have literally become blind to it. Especially when the original run of Fairy Tail came to an end and there was fan service during the wartime. Oh my god, I hated that. Lately I've passed by ads so quickly that my wife actually laughs and asks me if I saw that, and I actually really don't. I just ignore it instinctively. But you know what? Other people do enjoy it. Alright, that's fine. It's art. It's just drawings. While I think that it can be a crutch for mediocre storytelling at some points, I don't wish to take it away from anyone that likes it. Even the high school stuff. Even the lolly stuff. But I'm not going to stand here and say that it's not weird. Because it is, in fact, weird. But also not real. No real people are getting hurt through this. So what do I care if you want to raise red flags about yourself? Besides that, I don't particularly care if grown female characters have fan service, especially if all the men are super muscular and outrageously ripped. After all, women are allowed to have their eye candy as well, balanced, as all things should be.
Looking at cleavage is like looking at the sun. You don't stare at it. It's too risky. You get a sense of it, then you look away.
Of course, even I have limits, especially when grown characters in a story start acting perverse around underage characters. Not going to lie, that is the point where I start to feel uncomfortable. Unlike real-life weirdos like Miranda Sings, I cannot disengage from it. That's the story. That's the main character. How can I experience the tale without focusing on that? Oh, and I really hate peeping. Even if the male pervert gets immediately struck down by karma, it really just doesn't feel right. It's not funny to me. It turns me away from the anime. So I suppose the actions of the characters are more important to me than even the gaze of the camera. It reminds me of Id Invaded and Psychopaths. There were odd angles and fan service in there, but the male characters weren't doing it as much, so it was less creepy and weird to me. Keeping all of that in mind, it is with a heavy heart that I cannot ever recommend
Mushoku Tensei,
otherwise known as jobless reincarnation, to anyone. The only exceptions would be the most hardcore anime fans out there. And even then, I would have to go on a 5-minute rant about how many of the perverse aspects of it there are, and how I feel really, really creepy about the fact that the main character is a groomer. And now, I'm not throwing that out there without knowing the real definition of what a groomer is. Rudius is in fact grooming a young girl, and I felt really gross about it the entire time. While watching the first season, it got to the point where I had to skip scenes involved with the younger girls because of how sick I felt. It definitely feels like a step too far, even if some of it makes sense. Jobless reincarnation follows Rudius. In his previous life in the normal world, he was a shut-in loser. He spent all of his days locked in his room, playing video games and watching inappropriate videos. After dying by saving someone's life, he is reincarnated into a magical world. Born to Paul and Zenith Greyrat, Rudius is able to use his adult brain to learn magic early, seemingly breaking the rules of sorcery without even learning them. From there, he needs to work to overcome the trauma of his previous life and learn to be the type of person who leads others and faces the danger of this new world. I will say that the characters, plot, and setting are all done amazingly in the show. I loved seeing the small details of how the world connects. Each of the people are memorable, especially Rudius's terrible father, Paul. I love to hate that guy, and I hate that I love him. The themes of change and growing to be better are up front from the start. All the while, Rudius is clearly able to see the changes this world needs to go through to be better. Throughout the memorable cast, the main character still shines. Rudius has so much experience with RPGs and MMOs that he takes to this new world like a fish in water, understanding the rules of magic, politics, and economics without any trouble whatsoever.
Impressive. Very nice.
At the same time, he is as inexperienced in real-world situations as any other regular child. He still has to overcome his fear of going outside. He doesn't always think about the consequences of his actions when weighing lives in battle. He didn't even think about the fact that real blood is shed in this magical world when people die. People die when they are killed. Those aspects of him are brilliantly written. You can steadily see him grow as a person. Plus, his inner thoughts are hilarious. This is one of the few times I enjoyed a dub a little bit more just because I got to hear his thoughts in English. He had me rolling on the floor multiple times with his sarcasm. Despite all of these great aspects to him, Rudy's perversion really bothers me. Like really bothers me. A lot more than a character like Denji from Chainsaw Man. Being attracted to his new mom, his petite teacher, and his maid are slightly odd, but I forgive them. I can't even imagine being reborn with all of my memories and thinking of some random woman as my mother, so that kind of gets a pass. I even just forget about the stuff with Sylphie because it was at least a misunderstanding. It was still really weird, but I just skipped it. As soon as that bath started, I said, oh, she's actually a girl, and fast forward until I saw one of the adult characters. No, thank you, hard pass.
It got up and it danced away.
It what?
It got up and it danced away.
But things only got worse when Eris was introduced as a love interest. This is not me hating on her character. I thought she was pretty interesting, if a bit tropey as a tsundere. Under normal circumstances, I doubt I would have been bothered by her relationship with Rudius. You know, forgetting how close they are as family. Once again, weird. I reacted the same way when I recently was reminded that Edgar Allan Poe married his much younger cousin. Normally, I don't try to be judgmental about the past as a desperate attempt to feel better about right now, but ew. Anyway, what really got me was the more intimate scenes between Rudius and Eris. It would have been weird enough with Rudy actually being a little boy. The fact that he has the mind of a grown-ass man makes it much worse. This freak was even peaking on teenage and prepubescent girls bathing. And this was in the tail half of the first season. No God, please God, no. And the end scene with them, oh my God, it was just too much. I haven't even talked to anyone about this show because of it. How can I? How can I suggest this? Despite how good the writing is, how can I tell someone to watch something so damn weird, creepy, and perverse?
Oh, that's nasty.
It really is a shame because I love the theoretics of this style of reincarnation. Is Rudius still a boy? Should we classify him as older? Does his body's hormones influence him? If he's only attracted to women who are adults, how do the people around him view it? Personally, I would have found it interesting to see the people around him criticizing him for not being attracted to girls his own age. Eris and Sylphie getting mad at him for that specific reason. All the while, he internally cringes at the thought, making promises that he would see them as women when they are all fully grown, just as a way to appease them at least. This is a real problem for me with this show. The second season is coming out as I speak, but I can't bring myself to watch it, and the fixes would have been easy. Either do what I already said or age up the characters a bit more, because there is a lot to love about this show. The writing, the voice acting, and the animation are off the charts. I adore every single aspect of that, except this one single thing. I wouldn't even care if he was a pervert who learned to respect women to end up simply being horny instead of perverse. As it stands now, I literally have to change these terrible aspects in my head just to care about the show or to motivate myself to even think about watching season 2.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
I try to never tell other people what kind of art they can and cannot make. I even went along with Shield Hero's weird slave brands and demi-human aging stuff, but this is way too much. It is a step over the line. Maybe season 2 dials it back a bit with at least Rudius. He should be a bit better. I don't care if villains or characters like Paul act like scum. That is not my issue here. Watching the main character acting weird with these girls is not my thing. Nope. Long story short, this is kind of my attempt to convince myself to get back into the show, and I'm kind of failing here. I really wish someone behind the scenes would have spoken up during production and said that these parts are actively hurting the show. It drastically limits the audience, because fan service and scummy characters who are portrayed as scummy are one thing. I don't even care that one woman throughout the show is kind of promiscuous, but my god, the Rudius and Era stuff just didn't fly with me. Blah. You're welcome to disagree with me. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
Stop! Stop! Put on the lights! I can't stand anymore. This is a tragedy.
Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and to continue the discussion in the comment section. And please consider giving my books Above Heaven, Dance of Frozen Death, and Vows of Blood and Honor, which will be released in September, a chance. I appreciate you. Do not despair.